Okay, welcome everybody to today's open council meeting, Wednesday, 5th of March, 2025. First of all, I'm seeking apologies. I have one from Councillor Erin Wilson-Collins. I have a
Right through the chair, Councillor Penny is now online, so.
now online, okay.
Wilson-Collins.
All right, so just the one. So I'll move that. Can I have a seconder, please? Anderson, all those in favour say aye. Aye, motion carried. Confirmation of agenda, I'll move that. Can I have a seconder, please? So Howard, in favour, raise the hand, say aye. Motion carried. Have a conflict of interest they wish to declare today? No. Okay. Proposed changes, rates and decision whether to consult. I'd like to move the motion. I'd like to put it up on the board. It's a couple of slight changes there. You blow that up so everyone can read it, please, Alana. Okay, I move that the Kaikoura District Council approves the proposed annual plan 225-226 source document be prepared on the basis that the average general rates increase is 8.9 after 1% growth, and B, notes that to meet the average general rates increase of 8.9 after growth, the following budgetary adjustments are to be made. 1, depreciation for water's infrastructure is not increased by 250,000. 2, currently unbudgeted revenue streams of 100,000 for roading activities to be budgeted for. 3, Three Waters consultant spend is reduced by 150,000. C, agrees that consultation occurs with the community on the targeted rate. D, notes that the museum target rate is in addition to the 8.9% average general rates increase. Therefore, the council preferred option is to be the status quo. E, agrees that the chief executive prepare a consultation document based on the decisions made at this meeting for approval by council. Can I have a second? Councillor.
Second that, thank you.
Okay, our presenters for this are Jessie Ellison and Sue Davidson. Thank you.
Just as a matter of clarification, could we clarify just what the changes are from the staff recommendation?
So I can help with this through the chair.
Yep.
So we prepared the paper today based on the direction given at the briefing last month. And those changes are in attachment A. However, that took us to a rates increase of 10.3%. So the difference to get down, if you want this motion that's on the table to be carried, to get down to 8.9%, which is what the LTP originally was for rates rises, you would need to agree not to increase depreciation. And so to keep the status quo on the 250,000. We've also just, following the disbandment of NTA, realised there are some revenue streams in roading that we haven't put in the budget yet. And we would like to put those in, so that saves another 100,000. And then we've looked at the Three Water consultant spend in light of the underspends that we've had in the current financial year. So we believe we can take 150,000 out of consultants there. So that would get you back down to 8.9% after 1% growth. That is those three changes on the table, plus all the other changes that are in attachment A.
So these are actually changes staff are aware of?
We are directed to see how could we achieve 8.9, and firstly, you all cited last briefing to rate for depreciation, increased depreciation by 250,000. So you would need to decide today not to do that, and you would need to 100,000 for roading we only just discovered, so that's new and another way that we can help. And yes, we'd need to report consultants and waters to do this.
Because I just want a clarification that the second item, it looked to me like that was an increase, 100,000.
No, That's new revenue stream, so that will be budgeted for, and then that will cover some of our costs, so rates don't have to.
Okay, thank you.
Can I have, hang on, before we go into questions, can you complete your item then, please, Jessie, and then we'll have questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So essentially, that's what you would need to decide, if that's what you would like to decide, that's what will happen. And then we can prepare the source documentation and go up for consultation. At attachment B, you have proposed consultation questions, so you need to decide that today as well. If you agree not to increase depreciation, then it's just the first question that would be consulting on, which is all in regards to the museum targeted rate. In addition, when we prepared this paper, the option that council had chosen as their preferred option, or direction for their preferred option, was option 1, but to get to 8.9% in the new in the motion on the table, then you'd be needing to do option 4. So that's just clarifying that's how it'd be going out to consultation. So we'd be asking the community, do you want the targeted rate? And if you did, then we'd put it in, not going out with it in and asking if they want it in or out. So that's how that would work. And just to let you know the timeframes, the next steps after decisions today is the consultation document will be prepared, and it will come back to the table on the 26th of March for you to review before we take it out to the public. And there'll be an extra council meeting on the 2nd of April, finalising those. There'll be consultation from April to May, 7th of April to 7th of May with the community. Hearings on the 14th of May to the 16th of May, where you deliberate. We hear, what the community has said, and then you deliberate on the 28th of May, and just in time for a June adoption of the budget. So that's what will happen next. So I'm happy to take questions because there were quite a few and I have got the answers, but I think.
Run through the ones you've had.
Would you like me to run through?
That changes because of the change in motion. So look, let's have the questions from people at the table, eh?
Yes.
I think Councillor Howard was first, followed by Councillor Ashnail.
Thanks, Steve. Yes, I do have one question. In addition to all the ones that Rachel and I sent in earlier, and it relates to the $100,000 additional revenue. I've got to say, I'm pleased to see this. I think I've got to put it out there that I'm angry with where we're at. And this is right, not just the roading team, but this is for staff to come up with some of these solutions, not just leave the heavy lifting to us. So I would like to know what there is. What are these additional new revenue streams?
They are traffic management plans and a few other ones that are very low dollar value, but I can't quite call what those are. But the significant amount was through traffic management plans that get billed time that they're ordered, and through NTA it was all part of how it worked out. I don't quite know how that worked, but staff have been reviewing it, they've found it, and they want to make sure that we get that benefit for road.
Well, I mean, again, to that, and this is the processes that we have to put up with.
Councillor Howard, can you please tone it down a little bit?
Okay, sorry. Where we've got this is NTA is a year gone, right? So how come we're finding these things now?
Through you, Mr Mayor, I'm going to take this one. Thank you, Jessie. Councillor Howard, I said right at the start of when the NTA disbanded that it'll take some time to transition through. We are still in the process of doing that. We do not have sufficient staff in the roading department to do that properly. We are trying our best. The other point that Jessie made, I think is really relevant here. We brought these papers to you at the briefing at the start of this month. We have prepared the budget in line with that direction, which was no change from the council. We have received recently a request to get down to 8.9. We have worked hard to do that for you and found a way for you to do that. And that is what is on the table today. I do not accept any criticism from our staff in this space. Thank you.
Further questions?
Hi, further questions.
Councillor Nair.
Yeah, okay, can you please put on the motion again? Just trying to figure out what, because it's not sent. Can you send it to all the EMs?
We put it up on the screen,
It's
councillor Mayor.
better for us to just watch it here. So depreciation for water inflow not increase, but do you mean that it'll be 50% instead of 100%?
So we would rate our depreciation per the long-term plan.
Yeah.
Which means that would be inside policy. However, we do recognise and we try to recognise that those assets are increasing in value throughout the long-term plan. And so you might be in a situation where you're under rating for renewing that critical infrastructure. However, as we discussed at the briefing last month, there are enough, we've considered that there is enough in the reserves for those infrastructure items. You'd probably deplete your reserves, but there is enough. And with the uncertainty around local waters done well, we did mention that it might be an option that you'd wish to just keep the status quo, not increase the depreciation for now, while rates rises are a factor.
And obviously you answered Councillor Howard question, but this figure of 100,000 is just to make 8.9%.
No, it's not just to make, I mean, we literally haven't reported this to our executive team yesterday. It's just new information that we've found, and it helps. It's something probably we would have put in anyway throughout the annual plan process.
And lastly, the 3 waters consultant spend. Again, it's a figure here. I didn't even know that we provided for the consultant spend. How much was the original figure?
So it's spread across all of the waters activities. There's been money put in for the Brown Road odour problems. And when we look at the consultant spend this year, we think we'd put 200,000 in through the briefing last month. And looking at that, there's the waters team think they're doing some work there with the seeding and believe it might not cost as much, and so they've taken 50 grand off that, and then another 100 just coming off of some consultants that we don't think we'll need anymore.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Okay, councillor Vincent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did forward my questions on Monday. If we could work through those. Do you have those, Listen?
I do. I'm just making sure I've got your ones, councillor Vincent. Yes. Okay, so firstly, you were asking about the capital works program.
Yeah.
And you're asking you were noting that we're finding projects are not started in the year that they've been programmed for, and can the councillors see what the project teams think is feasible for this financial year?
Yes.
So project teams did look at this and what was feasible, and this was provided to council at the 3rd of February briefing. Project teams confirmed that net $2 million was to be taken out of the program. Approximately $5 million is to be carried forward to the next year. And then at the council meeting last month, we confirmed roading is expecting to carry forward 11.5. So that makes a total of 16.5 indicated to carry forward. So I accept what you're saying. Historically, we've only achieved 32 to 37 million of CapEx spend in the last couple of financial years. But council decides on what projects to put in the long-term plan.
Further questions.
Well, you can have a further question followed by councillor Nay, and that's.
Okay, so the next one is the museum targeted rate. And I thought for the options being presented is to go out for consultation. I think it needs to be clear that that's an annual amount rather than just a one-off thing.
That's a great point. We'll make sure that goes in the consultation.
Make sure that's explicit.
Yes.
And also, if we were to pass the motion as it stands, does that include writing off the Manawa Museum loan?
So
Not that it makes any difference to rates, does it?
the motion on the table that has been tabled, if we accept that motion, there will be the loan is written off, but because the council's preferred option would be that there's no targeted rate, and that's for the affordability of the loan repayment, I guess.
So could I just clarify, have we at any stage of a previous council meeting approved the writing off of that $100,000?
No, but several times you have wanted it investigated, and that's what we've done, is investigate the affordability. In addition, it's on our balance sheet as an asset, and unlikely would be able to recover it if we did not support the museums. So it's likely that would need to recognise a provision for the doubtfulness of over that debt in the profit and loss this year anyway.
Okay. Comment on that section.
Okay, councillor Naya, you're next, and then followed by councillor Howard.
Yeah, thank you. Just following on to Councillor Vincent's question. So this option of, again, if you can put it there, the 100,000. You have also mentioned that the target date, it also assumes the status quo. So have we decided it is status quo yet?
That's what you are deciding today. So if you vote for the motion on the table, that's status quo is no targeted rate, but we'll consult on putting it in. And the other motion was different.
Thank you.
Councillor Howard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can I, at the end of this conversation, before we get into the nitty gritty of the museum target rate, can we get all the options up on screen, please?
Alana, that's attachment B.
Which page?
Attachment B of your report, sorry. It says draft consultation questions. It's probably explaining it.
I'll have to dig that out. Anyway, so that was a question, and then we'll see if we go from there.
Yeah, you've got that one there on your that top piece there.
Yeah.
Initially at the briefing, you'd given direction to go with the option 1 as your preferred option last month, and currently the motion would be option 4 if you approve the motion on the table.
That would be status quo.
That's right.
Yep.
Any further questions?
Votes.
One.
Oh, okay, I'll choose. Yes, from my list,
Wait for them to come through.
I was researching for another one.
I've got the question that you had on the pensioner houses.
Yes.
That one you would like to?
Well, actually, we could start with that because I would like to extend that a bit further, but if you would like to introduce that, please, yes.
Sure. So Councillor Howard asked if we could delay the demolition of the pensioner housing until a future financial year, and then use that time to consider alternate options as well. That might be less, that might cost less. So I'm not abreast of what's going on with this, but I am cognizant that we had said we would do this.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, sorry, Jesse, it's fine. I'll get Hayley to come up. We'll phone a friend on this one and get Hayley to answer that.
Yeah.
So Hayley's behind you, Councillor Vincent.
Through the chair, yeah, we are looking at options for demolition. We could delay demolition. We are working with the pensioners that are in those houses to understand the impacts of what that would look like, asking them to live in a potential abandoned site for a determined period of time, or a year at the most. Part of our consent condition is to demolish those units, but we will be talking to Sustainable Parkrate through your recommendation to identify how we can save some costs through that process.
Well, actually, I had a difficult night last night because I had this inspiration, a little brain explosion, and I just would like to set out the possibility, and I suppose start out with the block. What if there was a competition for renovation of, let's pick 6 or so, in case not everybody knows, I'm pretty sure that there are 12 units with the original lot, and then there was a more recent lot. Now, they may or may not be in better condition than newer ones, and they may or may not be in a convenient location. But what about the idea of picking half a dozen, like 3 duplexes?
Is that a question though?
I'm saying, how about, we have a competition on the same lines as the block now. It's not, we're not going to put these up for auction, but there could still be a competition and with us, like 1-bedroom units, it must be possible to complete a renovation within a limited time. And I would say, pick the budget, we're allowing $340,000, divide that by 24, and that's the budget that each team have to work with. And yes, I mean, that's just the start of an idea. I just wonder if it's worth doing. And if we just pause the demolition process, we could maybe investigate that or other ideas that might be not quite so scatterbrained.
Mr. Mayor, there are obviously, thank you for your out of the box thinking, Councillor Vincent. There are obviously different options that could be utilised here to remove or get rid of the old housing that we don't need. Of course, to Haley's point, it's part of the consent condition at the moment. We do need to include the budget in there, but this could change in preceding months as well. And if so, then if that budget is not required, then we could take it out of the annual plan and then it would reduce the rates increase. So at the moment, we've got to think worst case scenario, which is demolish. So we include the budget, but it could change.
Yeah, because I still feel really bad about our decision making regarding the units, and I'm just looking for a way of trying to make it a bit better, even if it was a matter of, well, our latest report was that there were 7 units in the process of completion. Well, what about we pause it at 10, if that were possible, and that budget allocation then is freed up or less of an imposition on the general ratepayer as well. So I'm just throwing ideas out there, and I know it's late, but it was late at night when I was thinking about this.
Okay.
Thank you for your forbearance.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? Any more question there, Councillor Mayo?
Yeah, I would just, I mean, in terms of, if I look at, I don't know where I'm missing, but if you look at the agenda and all, this motion which is put in is not there. So all I'm trying to figure out is that as elected members, we should get some forewarning of what changes and the logic behind them. So we are prepared rather than wasting valuable time here. We would have been better prepared for it. Yeah. So I think in future, maybe it's.
You have a question?
I have a question why it was not given before to us.
We've been through a process. We're here now.
Not for a start.
Councillor,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On this matter of our pensioner housing, couple of questions. We've talked about, as part of the whole process, and you may not have been part of it, but a master plan being developed for the remaining land and things like that. Now, it seems to me that in so many of these things, here we go, approaching a situation of kicking the can down the road, which invariably means more costs for ratepayers longer term. So I'm infinitely interested in what is the likely impact that we would have on costs over the next 5 years, say, if we start saying, oh, we won't do some of these houses, we won't, we'll delay the demolition. Now, you won't be able to answer it specifically, I totally understand. But I think we've got to take cognizance is that here we are, we're trying to save $300,000 through nefarious means, but we're just adding to costs down the track.
Mike, excuse me, have you got a question?
Yeah, well, that was what was.
I think those are things that the staff can't answer at this point.
Mr. Mayor, I think your question is a bit bigger than what's in the table in front of you at the moment, Councillor Howard. Those points are valid, and we work that through over coming months. But for this decision at the moment, it's not that relevant to this decision right now.
Well, that's right, and I do understand where you're coming from, but it materially affects downstream.
Okay,
That's the issue.
that's for further work. That's the right question.
No.
had three statements, I think, anyway, so we'll carry on.
Yeah, all right, look, I think we've had enough questions. I can stand down, Jesse. Okay.
Thank
Hoover's statement. Yeah, look, we made a commitment to try and keep our rates at 8.9. It's still tough out there for ratepayers. It's good that we can carry on with that commitment to keep them under 9. Okay, second statement, Councillor Larson.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, I think that we have landed in a really good place. There's upward pressure on costs all the time. It's really tight for staff workload as well. And I'd like to thank Jason and the team for digging in and getting this down to where we had anticipated in the long-term plan, which was not easy to do. I also really want to acknowledge Jessie's reporting today is really excellent, and her in-depth knowledge of the inner workings of our finances really comes through in that reporting. Really great. So thank you very much.
Member statements. Okay, thank you.
On that,
You want to make a statement?
Why not?
Councillor Nair?
Mr. Mayor, I'd love to make a statement. I'm dismissed, as some of my elected members are. The background of amendments is a mystery, and it would have been nice if it is given to elected members and even public, who is also thinking about a good gesture of keeping the rate at 8.9%. But the figures are a mystery, and the budgeted figures may be achievable, may not be achievable. I would expect the council to be run in a fashion which is more transparent. I'm also concerned that about $9 million of unfunded, unsubsidized money is being used on the one hand, which can be returned to the ratepayers. And on the other hand, we are trying to be nice and showing up that we are doing something based on assumptions which are not backed by any findings. So while I'm happy with the outcome, I'm not happy with the process. Thank you.
Councillor Howard, followed by Councillor Vincent.
thank you, Mr. Mayor. Seeing these statements, I just think that it's most interesting that we get the likes of that question now, is that in fact, you people and others have been working through all sorts of options to try to reduce the budget, the cost for our rates. So I applaud all the work that you've done and what you've done already. And I guess it reflects that some of these matters go until the absolute last second. And that's a wonderful approach and application. So I think that for those that do that, it's a wonderful accord, a wonderful acknowledgement. I would like to ask, and I haven't totally resolved it, so before we actually go to the final vote, I ask for a short adjournment because I just want to have another look at what we've got in the notes for the museum rate.
Yeah, we can have 5 minutes to have a cup of tea and come.
Thank you.
Cool. Okay. So we'll come back at 10:05. Okay, we'll reconvene. Councillor Howard, you were halfway through your statement. Did you want to complete that?
No, sorry, I finished that.
Okay, councillor Vincent?
I think it was me. No, my only comment is that I don't see any harm. Like either way, it doesn't make any difference to the rates percentage. But I don't see any harm in leaving the Whangapai Museum debt where it sits at present, in the hope that one day maybe they'll be able to repay it in small instalments over time. But if we write it off, there is no prospect of that. That's all.
Thank you. Councillor Williams?
Thank you, yeah. I just wanted to concur with what councillor Larson had said, and, you know, if we go back to the LGP, we agreed to set rates increases below 9% next, for the 3 years of the LGP. And I'd like to thank Jason and the staff for finding ways to really hold the line on that. So I'm really pleased about that. And it's, you know, obviously it's really important to the ratepayers that we try to keep any increases at a minimum. So that's what we're doing here today. And I'd just like to thank everyone who's really made it possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Who just write a reply? I just want to say that I'm pretty proud of the council. We've had our ups and downs today. You know, I was talking at Grey Power the other day and I was listing the things that had occurred during my tenure so far, you know, which was Gabriel. We've probably had one of the worst economic downturns in a lot of people's living memory, and that's included a hell of a lot of inflationary pressures. You know, costs that have blown out big time to get work done. You know, then we had, well, we had the rain event after Gabriel too. It was not part of Gabriel, the rain event here. We've had the tornado recently, and all that's put a huge amount of pressure on our council, our staff and our finances. And, you know, it's all very well being showing displeasure when things go wrong, but I would like to congratulate my CE and the staff and councillors for digging in and finding some of these savings. I think it's extremely hard to do, and it's been successfully done. So going forward, it's nice to be able to keep our commitment to try and keep those rates where they are. We're a small council, and keeping our rates under 15%, which seems to be the average throughout the country, is a pretty mean feat for a small council. So thank you very much. I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour raise their hand and say aye. Aye. Against, motion carried. Thank you. Okay. So it brings us to the end of the council meeting, and then we go into the briefing.
So, Mr. Mayor, we'll close the meeting, which you've just done, and then I suggest take 5 minutes, so you're going to reset.
Okay, 5 minutes for a cuppa and a wee cuppa, and we're back again at 12 minutes past.